Hello, welcome to Cliff's Bible Bites. This is Series 1 and Bible Bite number 3. When I was a child in the 1940s, nobody had a television in our street or indeed in any of the streets around us. And then one day when I was out playing in the street in the late 1940s, I noticed that one house had a rather strange contraption fitted to its chimney. It was in the form of a letter H. It was made of tubular steel, about half an inch wide, and the object was about 3 feet tall and 2 foot wide. And over the next few months, these strange objects began to appear on other houses around as well, until there was almost like an army of them, because they were all facing in the same direction. And what had happened, unbeknown to me, was television had been invented and people were beginning to buy them. The first broadcast of a BBC television programme was actually a pilot one in 1936, but it wasn't until well into the 1940s that regular programmes were beamed into the towns and villages in the UK. I think it became particularly popular when Queen Elizabeth II was crowned in June 1953, and the service was televised live in black and white, and 27 million people in the UK watched this happen, about half of the population. They gathered in homes with relatives and neighbours to do so. Some years later, in July 1981, Prince Charles and Lady Diana Spencer were married, and their wedding ceremony was televised to around, it is said, an estimated number of 750 million people watching this happen live. Now, the reason I'm telling you this story is because the invention of the television, would you believe it, is actually mentioned in the Bible some 2,000 years ago, and in fact, to be pretty precise, 1,941 years before it was invented. Now, how did this happen? How is this possible? It happened because the disciple called John, who wrote the Gospel of John in the Bible, also had the revelation that formed the book of Revelation, which is the last section of the Bible. And this is what he wrote. And I'm reading to you from an old-fashioned Bible, an authorized version, or King James, some people call it. Revelation chapter 11, 7-9. It says, "The beast," speaking of Satan, "shall make war against them," that is, against God's two preachers, "and shall overcome them and kill them. And their dead bodies shall lie in the street of the great city where our Lord was crucified. And they of the people and kindreds and tongues and nations shall see their dead bodies 3 days and a half, and shall not suffer their dead bodies to be put into the graves." Now, this passage was ridiculed years ago, before the advent of television. Before television, this passage was ridiculed by scholars. And the fact is, of course, no question is raised these days, because you and I are totally used to observing what's happening around the world, not after it's happened, but frequently while it's actually still happening. And this links me back to the questions I was asked which caused me to start this series of studies. I was asked the question at the beginning of the coronavirus pandemic, is this the end of the world? And somebody else said, is this the beginning of the end of the world? And somebody else said, is this the end of the world as we know it? Well, the answer is, it's not the end of the world if you mean the planet. It's not the end of the planet, because in the last but one chapter of Revelation, the last book of the Bible, in Revelation 21 and verse 1, it says this, "And I saw a new heaven and a new earth, for the first heaven and the first earth were passed away." But I have to tell you, having studied the Bible for well over half a century, that a number of things have got to happen before we get to the new heaven and the new earth. Some bad things will happen. There will arise an evil world leader who will seem to have the answer to the problems of the world. There will be a 7-year tribulation the like of which has never been known, and there will be the great battle of Armageddon. Some good things that will happen is that the second coming of Jesus Christ will take place, and at the end of time he will be setting up, or almost the end of time, he will set up his millennial kingdom, when he will reign for 1,000 years and show what the world would have been like if it had not been for the entrance of sin. Now, I do believe that we are entering, or have already entered, the beginning of the end times. But the good news is the Bible, which is our textbook for this series, is full of prophecies and signs and indications so that we know what's happening in the future and we can be prepared for it. And I'll tell you how to be prepared in the future. I've shared this with you because it reveals that the Bible, again, is accurate, it's correct, and it's reliable. And it also shows that we need to look at other prophecies in this series that are contained in the Bible. Thank you for allowing me to serve you with a bite from the Bible today. I shall be preparing some more appetizing snacks in the weeks ahead, so I trust that you will look for these offerings on Cliff's Bible Bite channel. So take care and God bless you.